I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you, you. Oh, hey. I was just sitting here contemplating, thinking a lot, because I just got done watching the episode you're about to watch and just got a little emotional and teary-eyed about my beginnings, because today we have Theresa McCarthy on the podcast. We have Theresa McCarthy on, and Theresa was a professor of mine, and I went to Wagner College, and she teaches at Wagner College, and we shot this episode at Wagner College, and I just was thinking about my beginnings and thinking about Theresa's beginnings, which you're going to hear all about. Theresa McCarthy is an absolute wonderful actor, teacher extraordinaire. She was in the original Broadway cast of Titanic. She's the original Nellie in Floyd Collins, which we talked about the new production of Floyd Collins that's on Broadway right now, and Lizzy McAlpine, and we talked about Michael John LaChuisa because she was in First Daughter Suite and Queen of the Mist and her relationship with Adam Guettel, and all of the things. Something I discovered about Theresa that we talked about, which is huge, Take Me to the World, is her. So when you listen to Take Me to the World, that is her. She talks about Stephen Sondheim. Have you heard of him? I want to try to get him on the pod. But it's an excellent episode that we have tonight. And I'm just, I love Theresa. Theresa's been so wonderful to me. We talk about Viewpoints, and I'm so excited for you to hear it. Today, I want to be like Theresa McCarthy. Welcome to another I Want to Be Like You. Today, I want to be like Theresa McCarthy. Welcome, Theresa. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you for asking me, Elbi.
So we start the podcast with the same question every time. Mm-hmm. Who was your I Want to Be Like You when you were a kid?
Oh, man. This is a good question. Well, of course, if you say kid, can I say teenager?
Yeah.
Of course, I was like Meryl Streep, of course.
Meryl Streep?
Who doesn't want to be Meryl Streep when you see her
of course.
The Deer Hunter, like all of those early movies.
Yeah.
She's just incredible, and I
Who doesn't want to be like Meryl Streep? Who wouldn't want to be like
Meryl Streep? She's
Meryl
the best.
Streep. That's awesome. What was your favorite Meryl Streep movie when you were a kid? Teenager.
Well, I think it was Kramer versus Kramer was where she was like, it was a really big one when I was younger, and I just found her brilliant because she allowed herself to be unlikable.
Yeah, right.
And it was revelatory for me.
Yeah.
It helped me understand something about great acting, which is that like all of the human experience is important.
Yeah.
And so for someone to, she wasn't being evil. She just was, from the point of view of the movie, it looks like she's wrong.
Yeah.
And she just committed to it. So
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Not
that she's wrong, but like she's the bad one. She's the bad guy, right?
But she's brilliant at. She's
so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can understand. And then that opens up my eyes to, like life is like that too, right?
Yeah.
You might have a situation where you are married and somebody is the bad guy. And, right? So it's like, it's just so beautiful. It just keeps circling
that's awesome.
art into life. Like,
that's awesome.
Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy?
Yeah.
Nobody. We're all,
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. So I'll tell you, we, the way Theresa and I know each other is that I went to Wagner College, and Theresa's a professor at Wagner. And Theresa, I took so many classes with you I took acting 1, 2, and 3 with you. Yeah, I took acting 1, of course, and then I was in your module for 2, and then Shakespeare for 3.
Yeah.
And
good from the word go you were too.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. And what's funny about it though is that I feel like in doing research on this podcast, there were so many things that I already knew, and then things that I was like, what? I had no idea. So I'm excited to geek out to you a little bit because and it's so funny too because I spoke to some people from my class who were like, you didn't know that? And I was like, no, I had no idea. I knew a lot about you, but not as much as I know now. So I'm excited to open up all that. Yeah. So what was first of all, where are you from originally?
Michigan.
You're from Michigan originally. So what was the first Broadway show you saw? What brought you to New York?
Oh, cool. I saw I saw The King and I with Yul Brynner in 1975 because I'm not that old, but I was here with my dad,
Sure.
who was an advertising copywriter, and he came to New York to do a commercial of one of his ads, and he brought me because he knew that I loved theater. I was like, it was later than 75. I was 14, so it was 79.
Oh my gosh.
And he brought me and took me to see The King and I at what was then the Eurus, now it's Circle in the Square, and I was just like entranced by New York City. I'd never been to New York before.
Yeah.
I thought it was charming that there were vegetable stands out in front of stores. I was like amazed to
like the
see,
fruit stands and all that stuff. That's funny.
I thought that it's so old fashioned, and then I'm just gonna talk. I'll say all the weird stuff that I always say.
I would love that.
But like I saw homeless people for the first time.
Yeah.
And they were. Yeah. And when I came here in '79, I was with all. It was all my dad's, Mad Men kind of guys, and they were calling them hobos.
Oh,
so that's what they called the homeless people.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew that term too. I think I haven't heard it in a while, but I knew
it sounds pejorative, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it sounds kind of bad.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not sure why it would be bad, but it does sound kind of derogatory.
Because I think words can tend to get derogatory when you know that society is against.
Sure.
I mean, homeless has become derogatory. Now
in a sense,
say unhoused. And,
Yes,
pretty soon that's going to be just like the language keeps evolving.
Right. So that's so interesting. So how old were you when you were around?
I was 14.
Oh, you okay. And so what made you, were you doing theater already at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
High school,
Yeah.
Small stuff, but I was just, I really wanted to do theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you a theater kid?
It wasn't like that as much back then, but if there was a play at school, I would want to do it, or a musical. And I went to a Catholic school.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. We didn't do many plays, we would do more talent shows. But then when I went to high school, I went to an all-girls Catholic school.
Wow.
And all of my former classmates went to the all-boys Catholic school, so I would go to their school and be in their plays.
Right, which is exactly the way.
You did that too.
Yeah, my sister's doing that right now. So that's
and it was
so interesting.
Fun. And we'd go to their dances, and vice versa. Then they come to our school.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
So then, what made you decide that you were going to do theater like full time? Like, this is what I want to do. Did you go to college for it?
Mm-hmm. I just was doing a lot of speech and debate kind of stuff at school.
Yeah.
And plays. And I wasn't like, it wasn't like when you guys were going to college and they said you have to choose 25 colleges and you have to apply to, you've got to do this and all. Like, it was really different to get into college.
Michelle said it's a very similar thing.
I just went, I think I'll go to University of Michigan. Like, that's what I was like, I'm only going to apply to 2 schools. I'll apply to University of Michigan, and then Northern Michigan can be my settle school.
Yeah.
I didn't even visit Northern Michigan. I was just like, I'm just going to go to school in Michigan. Oh, I also applied to one in Kalamazoo College.
Sure. And where did you wind up going?
Michigan.
You did?
I just went,
which is crazy because now
so
UMich
easy?
is like such a, UMich is such a thing especially for theater.
It was nice and it was great, and
you went there for theater?
I went there for communications. Sure. Like which everybody is doing back then.
It's usually like no, I didn't go for theater. I just went for communications, which is essentially theater.
Or it's going to be. It turned into theater.
Yes, right, exactly.
But you go in thinking, all right, I'll do communications, and then you take one of those huge lecture hall classes, and you're like,
yeah.
So boring.
I'm not even sure I know what communications is exactly.
I think back then it was like the internet was going to come out. I mean, so it was just like creating, writing stuff for CEOs to communicate and things like that, or maybe being a spokesman. People could be a spokesman for a company. It was all business focused.
Yeah.
I think some people wanted to go into journalism and broadcast.
Okay.
But I just went right over to the theater department and started auditioning for stuff.
Right.
And
what shows did you do in college?
I did a Brendan Behan show called, oh my God, now I'm going to look like I'm losing my mind.
No.
It was so good. The Hostage, that was a good one. I did Company.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I had a dance
Who were you in Company?
Kathy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I used to dance a lot in college.
That's so funny.
I did a Moliere, Scapin, did a lot of ingenue kind of stuff.
Yeah. Which is very you.
Yeah, I was an ingenue-ish back then, but a different ingenue.
Sure.
That musical theater program at University of Michigan started when I was there, but I didn't get into it. I wasn't in it.
Sure.
I wanted to be a serious actor.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm saying that kind of like laughingly because there always was a prejudice against musical theater.
There still is in a sense.
They're not serious, and it's not true because if you know how to dance and sing and act,
right,
that's.
It's pretty more. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I even say with people who you hear all the time, it's like people who are like, I don't like musicals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I just think that you don't know musicals to say I don't like musicals, or what you know is just like the it's like saying I don't like music. You can't say I don't like music. You can say you don't like country music or you don't like pop music, but you can't say you just. So it's like I'm like. You don't like musicals. Have you listened to Sweeney Todd? Have you listened to, or contemporary stuff or classic stuff? It's just like there's such a wide array. You can't be like, oh, I don't like movies.
Right. No, you can't say that.
Yeah. So when did you move to New York?
After college, I went to a grad school for acting in California, in San Diego.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which I loved.
I think San Diego is so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, you seem like you could be from San Diego.
Well, I just went there for the first time last year, a year ago now, and I thought it was stunning.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah,
the weather's it's just always pleasant.
Well, it's like for those watching the thing, see everything out there and how grim and gray it is. That doesn't exist in San Diego.
You never have a day like that. And you can go to the mountains and the desert on the same day, and then still get back to the ocean.
Yes, because it's right
by
there.
the evening.
Yeah.
So
I was on a cruise there, and so it was like the cruise port was right there in the center of the city, and then you went right up, and there was a huge farmers market, and there's mountains, and there's hiking.
So pretty.
So you went to grad school there.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you love it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you take away from grad school that was different than undergrad? I mean, your acting major versus communications, that's a big difference.
I was a theater major at undergrad, too.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
You transitioned to theater. Yeah. Okay, yes.
What did I think in my grad school, it was a time to just really concentrate on practicing the craft.
Yeah.
So whereas I was getting a liberal arts degree before, so I was taking science and math and other things.
Yes.
English and history and stuff like that, which is great and I love.
Yeah.
But to be there just concentrating on your art and going to rehearsal at night, I don't know, it's so freeing to be in grad school is just like a luxury.
Yeah.
I felt really privileged.
That's awesome.
I was privileged.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So then after that you moved to New York?
After that, I did move to New York. I quickly went on tour with a company called the Acting Company.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wait, my first job was from somebody who came to UCSD.
So you worked your first professional job before going to New York?
It was in New York, and it was before I graduated. It was with a director who came to direct at UCSD named Anne Bogart.
Oh,
so Anne came to direct there, and then Anne cast me in something called Cinderella Cendrillon.
Oh, cool.
Which was the Massenet opera, but an Anne Bogart Viewpoints version of it.
Oh.
So we did it at this place up in Stockbridge, Massachusetts for the summer. And then during my last year at school, we did it at a place called St. Clement's Church on 46th.
I know St. Clement's Church.
Yeah, it's a really nice theater space.
Yeah, I've been there, yeah. That's very cool. Was that, this is going to come up further on too, so I'm going to plant the seed for it right now. Was that your first experience with Viewpoints?
Yeah.
Yeah. With Anne Bogart.
And I loved it so much.
Yeah. And you still do.
She really changed my mind about what acting is about, and it helped me take my mind off of all of the things that I thought it was. When I was young, I definitely would look at a script and think about what emotional things I wanted to do, or I should do this face at this point. And then once I worked with Anne, all of that emphasis went away, and I did not worry about what am I feeling, what am I
Yeah.
Because I knew that I had more important goals to.
Well, how so? What were those goals?
What am I doing? What am I physically doing? And how can I find a poetic physicality?
Oh, that's interesting.
Not just a logical physicality, but something that is going to move me.
Yeah.
You know, help me get to a different place, but also maybe something that could touch an audience in some way. Not in a way that I wanted to plan. They can have their own interpretation.
Yeah.
But that the things that I would do I would want it to be to serve the piece, to serve my fellow actors, and to serve me and the audience as well.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a really
especially
holistic
from
approach.
from a physical perspective. That's really interesting. So what was the job that got you your equity card?
I think it was that one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. See, so in talking about this podcast, that's a big part of what we're doing is like talking about that specific thing. I feel like I say this all the time. I feel like I say this maybe every episode now, but a lot of it is I listen to these pods where I hear people be like, well, I moved to New York, and then they just jump over all the hard stuff, and then it becomes like I booked Broadway or, you know, whatever.
Right.
Versus, so that's why I think that question is important about
what's different, I think, now is that maybe it was easier back then.
I think it's easier now
with
open access because anybody can join.
Well, I didn't do any weeks or anything like that.
Oh, really? So how does that go then?
I think it is that if somebody wants you in their production, and I had worked with Anne on something, I think she just wanted me to be in it, and so so
then it became equity.
So then I just got it.
And I mean, that still exists, and that has always existed. I think now that anybody can join equity, it kind of has become exactly that. In terms of the equity, not in terms of the business as a whole. In fact, I think that has made it a little harder to audition and pursue the career.
Yeah.
But yes, in terms of joining equity, it feels like anybody can just join equity.
Well, maybe anybody can join, but still, they do make it a steep climb for most people.
Yes.
Right? Where you're like counting, you're adding up weeks, and you know, it's really hard. And they like to keep people, the business people like to keep people in a kind of like low position to pay them as little as they possibly can. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the salaries haven't barely budged since I got into the business in 1988. Like they've barely budged.
Really?
No.
Wow. No. That's kind of crazy.
I mean, I still know people who are doing jobs and getting $600 a week.
I mean, that's pretty. I honestly think that's pretty standard. I've never gotten $600 a week.
But that's not enough money.
Yeah. I've never got, that's, if I get a job that worth $600, that's the most I will have been paid for.
Yeah. So the prices have not budged. They've gone down then, because, you know, I feel like I was getting $500 in 1988. So like, what's going on?
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's really interesting. So
I didn't always get 500. Sometimes I got 250.
Yeah, me too. But that's what I mean. So you're talking about the prices not budging. That is the case.
Because they know we love it so much.
Yeah.
We'll practically do it for free.
Yeah, right. Isn't that kind of like its own like catch-22? So you get your equity card from that, and then you move to New York. Yeah,
I moved to New York.
But you toured with this company, you're saying. And
then I auditioned for the acting company, which was this. It might still exist. I think it does.
It probably does. Yeah.
Well, they would usually go with all Juilliard actors. So it started out of Juilliard.
Fancy.
Yeah. Oh no, the Juilliard people are wonderful. But I got in it. I didn't have like the best part. I feel like I was a little bit of an afterthought. But they let me in, and it was amazing. I had such a fun time going just all over the country on a bus with these wonderful people.
What were you guys doing? What show were you guys doing?
We did a show called Boy Meets Girl.
Okay.
I played a nurse with squeaky shoes.
Boy meets girl meets nurse.
The nurse was a very small part. I didn't have a big part. Yeah. I did a show called Love's Labor's Lost. Okay. I played one of the side princesses. Okay. Or ladies. Yeah. I did, and then I did a show called, oh my God, it was a children's show, and it was hilarious, and I still have flashes from it. But, oh my God.
And so you guys toured, how long were you on tour?
A year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Touring the whole country.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
We went all over the place. We had some amazing adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
That's
some
great
great people on that bus. Some people that are still friends. Met my ex-husband on that bus.
No way.
We had a great time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we tormented our fellow actors because we were a little bit badly behaved back then.
Is that right?
We'd show up late to the bus.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, we just talked about that same situation. That's like it feels like such a formative experience in that way, though.
It's really like now when I look back, I can think, oh, I was immature. There was a time I was immature at
it's funny. I've never had that experience. I'm not sure I've ever. No. I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, that's so immature and rude to do.
Sure.
And we would just be like, what? What are you upset about? It's only 10 minutes, What assholes?
No.
I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, you're more than welcome to. Okay. Yeah, that's so funny though.
Yeah.
So after you did you move to New York after the tour? I feel like I've asked this question 100 times, but I didn't mean to.
Didn't move to New York quite then. Then I went to Trinity Rep in Providence.
Oh, cool.
Because Anne became the artistic director there.
Oh, nice.
So
did Anne kind of serve as like your mentor in a way?
Anne was such a mentor to me.
Okay.
Anne was so formative. I mean, I just love Anne so much. So then I went to work at Trinity, and she brought a few actors from that she'd worked with, you know, out in New York and other places. And so we had a great time in Providence. But unfortunately, the Providence audiences decided that they did not want that kind of experimental theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so then after a year, everybody came back to New York.
Oh, I see.
And Oscar Eustace took over Providence.
Oh, wow.
And Oscar's great. I mean, he's amazing. He's such a great director.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's really interesting.
But that was more kind of like what they wanted.
And that was what brought you to New York.
Then I came to New York. I always knew I would be in New York.
Right. It was just a matter of doing all these other things to get to that place.
You know what? I really was lucky. And I really felt like, oh, I'm on my way. This is the life of an actor. Like I had those first years out of school and I thought, it's always going to be like this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're in New York. How did you get your first agent?
Oh, gosh. I kind of don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember. Oh, this is a fun New York story.
Okay, great.
Okay, so so I came back to New York from Providence and I was looking for a place to live and somebody said, oh, my agent is moving out of his studio apartment on 49th Street.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go meet him and you can sublet it. It was so much easier to get apartments back then.
Sure.
So I went down to 49th Street and I met this guy and he was so nice and I was like, oh, by the way, I need an agent. Would you mind representing me? He was like, oh, okay. I gave him my resume and he wasn't representing me like really, really hard, but he was just, people were more friendly back then.
Yeah. Who was it?
I would say it's 19, I can't remember. It was a long time ago. He quickly left the city.
Oh, is that right?
He wasn't there. But then by the time he left, I moved on and I got with this group called Sains and Rolnick, which was a couple of women were the owners.
Yeah.
They were fantastic, so nice, and they had a young agent, an agent my age named Bill Timms, and he took me under his wing, and he just really believed in me and helped me so much.
That's awesome. I think that finding an agent for me was like, it was maybe the trickiest thing I've had to do throughout the entire career.
Surprises me that someone wouldn't just go, I can see what I can do with him.
But it's like, and I think that a lot of people my age in general, like we share that experience of that, like it's tricky, and especially if you don't get one from a showcase or something. Like, you're essentially paying to even find one, so it becomes like inevitably like it was an issue. And at this point now, I'm on my as an adult, I'm on my third agent now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, some of it has to do with me, some of it has to do with them, but it's just like it's such a, especially coming out when you don't really have friends who have them yet.
Yeah.
It's such like a, so it's very interesting to hear how things have evolved and how things, or some things didn't, in that regard. How long were you with Bill for as an agent?
I was with them for a good long time.
Yeah.
At least until I left the city.
Okay.
Which was in 1995. I left the city.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Why did you leave the city?
Well, I got pregnant.
Okay.
And we were living in Larry, who I met in the acting company.
Yes.
We were living on an apartment on 49th Street, not the studio. We moved into another one in the building. And I got pregnant, and I just couldn't imagine doing a little baby. And like we had been cobbling together pretty good living, you know, I was doing off Broadway stuff.
Sure.
He was doing commercial stuff.
Sure.
You know, but you know, it was like scrappy actor stuff.
Sure.
Right? I think we both had a side job at a PR firm.
Okay.
So we were going to that when we weren't doing our stuff, and we'd go out of town for a couple weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we were just living the normal actor life.
Yeah.
Which you probably still do. Like, you cobble things together.
You just try to see what you can get.
We got pregnant, and we just thought, you know what, let's try it in a different market. So we moved to Seattle, where he was from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seattle. And how long were you in Seattle then?
Well, we didn't stay very long.
I was going to say because you said 95 you moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
But then you did Floyd Collins in 96.
When we came back.
Oh my gosh. So you're really only there for a year.
So we were there for like a year. We had our oldest daughter there, Emma, who you know.
Yes.
Emma.
Yes.
And we really loved Seattle. And Seattle was an interesting place because we were like, okay, well, here we are. We had our resumes. We felt confident and stuff. And we were ready to audition for stuff. And they were like, the Seattle theaters were like, oh, sorry, we only see local actors in February. And it was April. And we were like, what? Yeah, come back next February and audition for stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God, what are we doing here? Like, February. They would not see anyone
so interesting.
Local.
That's so wild.
They weren't even, I don't even think they were looking at resumes. Or, you know, they
what
already had
theaters were you going
local.
in for in Seattle at the time? Was Fifth Ave like
Seattle
a big
Rep,
thing?
the Fifth Ave, more jobs.
Okay.
More with job things in. But they had, like, you know, they had their arty things out there. They just didn't have open calls all year.
Right.
You would come in once a year, and then if you didn't get it, forget it.
Wow, that's so bizarre. So how did you get Floyd Collins then, if you weren't in New York?
I'd been working on Floyd for 2 years before I
moved.
Really?
Yeah. How did you get involved with it?
Tina, who was Tina Landau.
Yes.
And I worked together a lot. Well, we worked together at Trinity.
Oh, she was at Trinity.
She was at Trinity.
Was she an actor?
No, she's a director.
Okay.
So we started working together there, and then we immediately started doing other things when we came here. Like, if she was going to work on something new, I would want to be in it. So I did a couple of developmental musicals with her that were they were put on by the American Music Theater Festival, which is based in New York, but they would mostly do their shows in Philly at this really cute little theater down there.
Oh, nice.
So we developed one musical down there called States of Independence. That was by Tina and Ricky and Gordon. Okay. And I loved it. It was amazing. So we did that for a while. And then Floyd Collins, I knew Adam.
Let me ask you this, was that always something that you were able to flex with your, because you have, and everyone will say this, and if you listen to anything with Theresa, you have one of the most beautiful voices I've ever,
Thank you.
It is gorgeous. Was that something that was like a big thing for you, like working on your voice and all this stuff, like, or was it, because it's so funny because you talk a lot about your acting work and plays and all this stuff, but your voice is also a big flex, Theresa.
Thank you. It's interesting. I feel really lucky in that way. I always sang.
Yeah.
I started taking voice lessons when I was in high school.
Okay.
Actually, because I got in trouble.
Oh.
Yeah. I got caught sneaking into my house one night.
Uh-huh.
And then my parents were like, "That's it. You got to get a wholesome hobby." And so
so we're putting you in voice lessons.
Yeah. I was like, all right, I'll take voice lessons. And so I started taking voice lessons. But I already could sing and stuff like that. And I'd taken piano. And so I really got into, like...
So you felt no self-consciousness in auditioning for musicals or anything like that, right?
I always felt... Yeah, no, I was very lucky. I just felt like I almost didn't feel like it was difficult. Yeah. I had a really good voice teacher. Oh, that's another thing. I mean, I had an amazing voice teacher named Jeff Halpern, who helped form my idea of healthy singing. Okay. And that a singing style that is really comes from the sound of the way I talk, right? Yeah. So I'm not a belter at all. Sure. Because that's just not how my this is constructed.
Yes.
So my singing, I would feel, is comes from an acting standpoint, from a speaking standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's more mixed. I'm a more mixed, like,
Sure.
I would say more legit.
And soprano, yeah.
In the legit area.
Yeah.
And maybe not as much soprano anymore, but
Sure.
so cool. Like, as you age, like, it changes, which is such a shocking thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I came from with
you. And you said you had known Adam already?
Yeah, I missed a few spots, but I mean,
that's okay.
I met Adam one summer when I was working with this music theater group up in Stockbridge on a musical called The Griffin and the Minor Canon, which was by his mother, who was Mary Rogers. So that's where I met Adam, because he was doing, which was new at the time, computer sounds. He was like programming computer sounds for his mom's musical, and he was young. He just graduated.
And this was a workshop of a new Mary Rogers musical?
Yeah, but it never went anywhere.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, I mean, was that like a big deal? I mean, she was a big deal.
She is a big deal, and she was so nice, and it was wonderful to get to work with someone of her caliber.
Of course.
And there was a wonderful director named Andre Arnaud who directed it, and there was a book writer, Wendy Kesselman, who wrote it, who still writes.
Yeah. And you were in this show?
So I was in it. Yeah, I was in it.
Wow.
But it didn't come down here. I mean, it was just like, it was up there.
And I mean, that's just kind of, how do you book a Mary Rogers show, a new original Mary Rogers show?
So the Cinderella Cendrillon was also with Music Theater Group, and so they knew me. It was the kind of thing where they would be like, "Oh,
that's
do you want to come do
though.
this? Oh, do you want to come do this?"
I mean, you talked a little bit about it. What was that like, Mary Rogers? That's like.
It was like summer camp, because they put you up they put everybody up in the house. Although Mary wasn't in the house, but
sure.
I think Adam was put up in the house. We're in this old, Massachusetts house, just having a summer.
And
camp.
Adam was your guys' age. He was hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, he was my buddy.
Wow.
We had so much fun.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so insane.
He was just like, your classmate. Like, felt
right.
like we were.
But it's just funny because it's inevitably, because of his name and because of where he's from and his mom and his grandfather, obviously there's a different type of weight to where he comes from. I mean, he was born and bred theater, I'm sure, and that's really interesting.
And he was a kid opera singer. At the
Oh,
Met.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you realize at the time, like, who you were working with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was already.
Yes, I was impressed.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Sure.
But they were so down to earth. They're so down to earth. They were not like pretentious. Nobody's pretentious in the Guettel Rogers family. They're
That's
just
really nice.
very like. That's what's so nice about them, right?
Yeah.
They're really, they're beautiful people.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them a lot.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
So then so you were already friends with Tina and Adam on Floyd Collins, but when you moved to Floyd Collins.
Yeah.
And you were workshopping Floyd Collins for how long before it went?
A couple years, it feels like.
Really?
Yeah, it feels like we did it once in Philly. Another round or we might have done a round in Adam's loft in between or something like that.
Was that the first thing that he had written independently?
No. Is it? I don't know. I feel like I did something else with him slightly before that. He's written so many things.
Yeah, he has.
He actually has written a lot of things.
Yeah. No, he absolutely has, and I've done a lot of research on it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, already just to know about Adam, but that's really interesting. So then, and you were always Nellie.
Yeah.
In the workshops and everything. When Floyd Collins was announced that it was going to move to Off Broadway, where was it going?
Playwrights Horizons.
Playwrights Horizons. Wow. So that must have been that was kind of huge.
It was huge.
Yeah.
It felt really great.
Yeah.
And I was so glad that I was able to come back and do it.
Yeah, because that doesn't happen all the time.
It never happens. That was the biggest thing that I'd ever done by then.
Yeah. So then talk to me about what that was like being. This is a big New York show, Adam Guettel's premiere in New York.
Yeah.
And like, what was that like? Because you were a big part of that show, which add that to I knew you were in Floyd Collins. I'm not sure I realized the breadth of it or anything like that. Yeah. So talk to me about that. And also, it's just a beautiful, really incredibly written show.
It is. It's the kind of thing that when you're not on stage, you want to be watching.
Of course.
And crying along with it.
Right. Right.
And I don't cry easily.
Yeah.
But every single night during the last song, that Chris Invar sang, and How Glory Goes.
Yes.
Just like,
right.
It's just a release.
Yeah.
And I also love the Brothers song, the swing song at the end of Act 1, which I think is just like the most amazing end of Act 1 closer. The song with sung by Jason Danieley on the album. Jason Danieley and Chris Invar, where he's imagining he's getting out of the cave.
It's not Daybreak, is it? Is that
no,
Daybreak?
I love Daybreak. I love all the songs. Let's face it. But the swing song is like, you know, it's got like it kind of has a little fun like, jive to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
how long was that? How long was that run?
We only got to extend like 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because you know what was happening at the same time?
No.
Rent.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So like, it was such a sensation.
Yeah.
Jonathan Larson died.
Yeah.
And then we opened like on the same day.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And we did get some good, you know,
I was going to say, how was your press?
Our show got some good press.
Yeah.
I got a little Simonized on it, if you know what that means.
What does that mean?
John Simon was like the critic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who do you work for?
The New York Magazine. And
okay.
He was, let's just say he was not the nicest person in the world.
What did he say about you?
I think he said, I'm a somewhat cloddish clown.
Oh, my
yeah, like
God.
you never forget the bad ones.
Why?
He just didn't buy it. He didn't buy me. He didn't like me particularly. But I think he liked the production.
The show?
And I think he liked a lot of the men in the production.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
No, I mean, it's just what he does. It's what he did.
Yeah, and was there any other criticism? Like, why did he not like you? And
you know, it doesn't matter. I shouldn't have read it.
Sure.
That's the thing. Sure. And then after that, I did not read.
Wow.
Anything because it really did. I was very insecure. And I thought everything is riding on this. And, you know, in truth, there's always another wave to ride, right?
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel that Floyd Collins, generally speaking, changed your career moving forward?
I feel like the recording of it which came out a couple years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the doing of it was foundational for me as an artist.
Right.
It
brought
probably
you back to
one
New
of the
York
most important things that I've ever done. Just the experience of doing it made me the actor that I am, the performer that I am.
Wow.
And it made me never want to do anything that except what was most nourishing like that.
Yeah.
So I've never gotten to do you know, a long run of something that was just kind of meh to me. Sure. But I've auditioned for quite a few things.
Yeah.
And probably thought with each one, oh, I'd love to do that. But like in retrospect,
all the pieces
I
you've worked
really
on
have only done new works.
Yeah. Which is great. That's exciting. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So then, moving forward, how far after that was it that you... Oh, I wanted to mention this actually before we move on about recordings. I think that that's what's really interesting about it is that recordings are this time capsule in and of themselves. And no matter what, you will live on through and through. Aww. And it's like it's just this beautiful thing. I think about it because now that Floyd Collins is coming back in a big way, it feels like that the only source material that you have is that recording.
People have heard it.
Yeah.
There must be a
I'm sure the
point.
plays have gone up through the roof already, and not to mention moving forward, because until that new cast recording comes out, this is really if you want to get to know Floyd Collins, that's the way you get to do it. It's through that, really. Yes. You know,
nice.
I think that's just really interesting. So how long subsequently do you move on to Titanic? I mean, Titanic you did the following year, right?
Trying to think. Emma was 18 months old when I started Titanic, so I feel like I was, you know, just kind of hanging around New York, auditioning for stuff, and then. Oh, I'll tell you one thing. One thing that really helped me a lot. When we got back from Seattle, we rejoined our friends Seth Barrish and Lee Brock, working with them at their acting company, the Barrow Group.
Okay.
Taking class.
Yeah.
Because we both Larry and I felt kind of rusty, so we thought, well, we're just going to take the, the weekly class where we come in and do scene work. And so I started working in the class. Larry was in it too. It was a great acting class. It was working professionals, young working professionals, but people of all ages. And we were just going to be able to do whatever kind of scenes we want. I would like to do Chekhov or whatever.
Sure.
But I feel like that also changed the way that I work.
Yeah.
And once I had worked with Seth long enough, I just started booking things all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You mean because of what you gained, or because of Seth's name, or?
No, because of what I gained from his class.
From his class.
Which was a kind of relaxation, a kind of truth.
Yeah.
That is.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that when we were in class, you assigned us Seth Barrish's book.
Yeah.
And I think that to this day, it's probably the most revelatory acting book I've ever read because it is such an easy read.
Right.
What is the name of the book right now? I'm blanking on it.
It's called the Actor's
Handbook, I think, maybe?
Actor's Handbook.
Yeah, Actor's Handbook. Sorry, I had to stop the podcast here to talk about the fact that the book is not called an Actor's Handbook. It's actually called An Actor's Companion by Seth Barrish. And it's a great book, and you should pick it up because it's wonderful. Okay, back to the pod. And I thought that book was just... The thing that has really resonated with me from that book still was activity. And it's such an easy read. It's like little passages. Each chapter is like a page and a half, 2 pages, 3 pages, but it's just like nuggets of such wisdom in there that are like, and they're so short. They're such, but you take them and you're like, oh my gosh.
So logical too.
I think that it was one of those things where we did a scene, I remember in class, and I tied my shoes while talking, and it blew my mind because I was like,
I can see you doing it now.
I was like, it was some football scene.
It was in the locker room.
Yeah, it was in the locker room. Yes, exactly. It was in a locker room with me and Ian. And I remember being like, oh, I'm going to tie my shoes and also just and drink my water. And like, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm existing rather than like performing. You know, like I thought that was huge, man. That was Seth Barrish. That's how I like Seth Barrish.
And then you can use that in every other theatrical experience.
Absolutely. I feel like that I've never done a show or anything subsequently where I'm not thinking about doing something else.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Film and TV too. I mean, it's so good for film and TV.
Yeah. So that was huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Okay, so Titanic happens the next year, 1997.
Mm-hmm.
What was your audition process like for Titanic?
It was like a real Broadway audition kind of thing. Like you had to go in multiple times.
Yeah.
I will say that I think my friend Henry helped cast me in that.
Oh, is that right?
My friend Henry was in it. He's an actor, but he knew the director.
Okay. Who directed that again? Okay.
Who's a British, an incredibly talented, brilliant British director from London, and he does a lot of opera, but just in my mind, the perfect person to direct Titanic because he had a different sensibility than Maury and Peter, who were the writers. Yeah. And they're brilliant. They're an older, they're from a different era of musical creation, like more classic. They're post-Golden Age.
I was going to say, they're like in this weird contemporary classic.
They're like 70s, but they still have a lot of Golden Age feeling about them.
Yes.
And Richard is amazing at directing opera, which is also pretty classical, but he has a brilliant architectural understanding of how to move people in a space in a way that's like startling and striking, which is what Titanic needed.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I watched so we went to go see it at City Center, and that was my first impression of it. I barely knew it. And then when I found the bootleg, and I watched it, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I thought it was, I couldn't even believe it, so I can't imagine what it must have been like to have been in that audience and see this huge, I mean, that was an era of mega musicals, but this was this big.
It had a hydraulic and a lot of moving parts.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was pretty expensive at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was $11 million, which was at that time the most expensive.
Huge. Yeah. I mean, still, I think that's pretty expensive for certain shows.
Yeah.
I would say but still, that's wow. So, This is your Broadway debut. How big of a like?
My only Broadway show.
Sure.
The only one I ever got.
Sure.
I auditioned for quite a few, but
yeah.
Well, it was a blast because everybody in it was amazing. It was such a nice company.
Mm-hmm.
We had so much fun.
Yeah.
I played one of these 3 Kates.
Yes.
So like I had 2 immediate friends.
Yeah.
Besties who were and 4 because Jim Farrell too, like the third class.
How long were you in it for?
I was in it almost most of it, but then at some point I got pregnant again.
Okay.
So I had to get out. Yeah.
You couldn't be the nurse. You couldn't be one of the 3 Kates and pregnant.
Be the not pregnant Kate and be pregnant next to the.
Yes, right. So, who knows? Maybe that would have added more nuance to the story. You never know.
I stayed in until I was like 5 months, and then I had to get out.
Right. You were just showing. That's the only reason.
Yeah. But I always knew I was going to get out. I left for a little while to do something called Myths and Hymns.
Saturn Returns.
Which became Saturn Returns in the recording.
Yeah, well, it was the opposite. It was Saturn Returns, and then it became Myths and Hymns.
Saturn Returns, and then it became Myths and Hymns.
And that was another Guettel piece.
And that was by Adam, and it was at the
Public.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about that, because from what it seems, with all the research I've done on Saturn Returns, Myths and Hymns, it seems like what was the production like comparing to this recording? Because it really became almost like a concept album.
Well, it was a concert. It's a concert.
Okay.
And so there wasn't a lot of staging.
Mm-hmm. Who directed it?
Tina Landau.
It was Tina.
The band is up there with us. And it's, the singers just and those mics, maybe a chair or 2, maybe people recede and come in.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of movement, but not a lot. And I think the show, the piece is, I'm still puzzling through what it's about, but really,
sure,
it is the Saturn Returns aspect is kind of a concept that somewhere around age 28, 29, you come to a place where one comes to a place where they say, what's the meaning of life? Like, everything's over, what am I doing? And I think that's where Adam wrote it from. And he wrote Myths, I think to honor his kind of like mythic beginnings himself, right? Like he's almost a son of the Olympians, right? And so I think he felt there was a high bar to meet in his writing, which he's definitely met. I think he's brilliant.
Oh my God, yeah.
But they were mixed with hymns, and the hymns have like a sound of longing in them. Each of the hymns that he chose for this piece, there's like a desire to pray. Maybe from someone who has never known a desire to pray, right?
That's very interesting.
So it's a longing. It's about like overreaching, not hitting the mark, longing for perfection, achieving an understanding or a balance, something like that. So we all just did it through whatever lens we could.
That's really interesting.
And there were a lot of different kinds of people in the piece too. So
let me ask you this. We were, because this is something I'm interested with Floyd and with this show and a couple of others that you worked on, because we talk about how a lot of these feel like passion projects. These are coming really from the soul. And a lot of these new works, was the goal with these shows, now especially Floyd is moving to Broadway, was the goal to transfer?
We would always think that, maybe it'll go somewhere.
Sure. Because aside from Broadway, you did hit the pinnacle. The Public is huge, and
great.
Playwrights Horizons is huge. But is there always like this from a financial perspective at the very least, like we're going to move this to Broadway?
It's always a struggle.
Yeah.
It has always been a struggle for me.
Yeah. Sure.
It's rarely paid.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
I've rarely gotten paid.
You mean
to do any of this?
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah, no, Titanic.
Well, of course.
You get paid, but
it's not the same.
Paid.
It's not the same.
$600.
Yes, right.
A week.
Do you think? And so, I'm sure that is an encouraging thing to move to Broadway in its own way.
Yeah, no, that.
But with Saturn Returns, was that a?
Well, the Public doesn't pay that much.
Sure.
And it was at one of the smaller theaters.
Okay.
I can't remember what it is, but
yeah. But either way, was that because it feels like such a conceptual piece more than like a musical, and in the sense of what were they thinking of moving the show like that to Broadway?
I don't think there could be. I think it needed a small house.
Right. Interesting.
Oh! I remember one night I was in it, I was looking out and I was like, oh my God, that's Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson out there. Oh my God, I hope they like it. And here's how they were at the end.
Oh my gosh. What was the reception from that show?
It was great. Lots of people loved it.
Okay.
I remember once a man from the audience was very angry at our conductor, Ted Sperling, because so I don't know how the man knew that he was Jewish or something like that, but he's like,
oh my goodness.
How can you be singing, how can you be putting these Christian themes with these, how dare you? You know,
wow.
like,
because a Jew was conducting it?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's so interesting.
It was weird.
Yeah, that is it. That is weird. That's so. Like,
I don't think that it was
so
a Jews for Jesus kind of situation.
Sure,
I don't think the Christian hymns were about proselytizing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it was.
It's a beautiful score.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and you sound brilliant on it. That was the first time I think I'd ever heard you sing at all. Was when I came to Wagner and I started researching you and whatnot, and I found Myths and Hymns, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Did you ever sing anything from it?
From Myths and Hymns? No. I don't know it incredibly well, but what I do know from it, I think, is just stunning.
Really,
and hard. Well, that's the thing about Adam Guettel's work. It's really hard.
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard to sing. It's hard to, in general, it's composed difficultly and it's which makes it more interesting. But and inspired. It's not hard to be hard. It's hard because it needs to be.
It's because that's how he feels it, and you can hear his voice too.
Yes.
On Saturn Returns.
Yes.
And hymns because he took over some of the parts
and
in the sang them on the recording.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. So at that point, you took like a leave of absence from Titanic to do that show.
Yeah.
And then you went back into Titanic.
Then I went back.
And got pregnant again.
Yeah, and then I had my second pregnancy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so then after that, because here's the thing, and this is why I asked the thing about Floyd Collins, because it feels like after Floyd Collins, you were, I mean, probably easier said than in the moment, but like it felt like you were working back to back.
I felt like I was.
Yeah, I think so. Tell me about this. This is the big thing. Okay, so when I walked in with Theresa today, I told her that there was a big thing that I discovered that I had absolutely no idea about. I had no idea that if you plug in to Spotify, to YouTube, Take Me to the World, that it is you.
Yeah.
I had on Spotify, your name isn't credited on it per se. And so
That's cool, it's that one. Because other people sang it.
Oh, yeah. And we just watched it. I had never seen Evening Primrose. And we just watched it because we're reading Finishing the Hat now.
So you watched the 1960s version?
The 60s version. There's no cast recording from that 60s. It was a TV movie.
Right.
But we're reading Finishing the Hat and Look, I Made a Hat. And so and I thought it was, I loved it. I loved Evening Primrose. It's beautiful. So weird, so cool. But oh my gosh, I did not know that you are Take Me to the World. If you look it up, it's your version is the version.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it seems like you didn't know that either.
I didn't either because I know Bernadette did a version, and I think that a couple of other people have done it. And
it's just
really
credited under Stephen Sondheim. So if you go on Spotify under the recording, it's like The Frog / Evening Primrose, and it says by Stephen Sondheim, and your Take Me to the World is the.
They didn't like it when it first came out.
Is that right? So what was that? It was a staged production?
No, it wasn't a staged. It was just None Such Records, who did all of Adam's recordings and a couple of other recordings that I did. They wanted to do these little done Stephen Sondheim.
Yes.
They just wanted to record it. And so I felt really lucky to be asked to do it by None Such. It wasn't. Stephen didn't even know me. Stephen Sondheim didn't know me, and wasn't particularly impressed. I think by me. No, not at all.
Why is that?
Just because he didn't know me. He didn't. Maybe he didn't like to know new people or something.
Interesting.
Like that. But he really liked Neil Patrick Harris. A lot.
And Neil did what? Neil did the.
He did the man's voice.
Okay, gotcha. And so did Steve work on that recording?
He was there.
Okay.
Giving notes between every take.
Do you remember anything that you received from Sondheim as a note?
Yeah, I remember one in particular. He came out and he looked a little bit pressed, and he said, "She's young." I mean,
oh man,
that's all he said, and it was like it had the feeling of like you don't sound young enough. But anyway, so.
Oh, he was saying she's young as in the character.
Yeah, he came out between
he wanted
every
it to
take.
Wow.
To give a note.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that must have felt really intense and like
It did. Like,
Yeah.
if you've got somebody coming out, like, every single time, it's a bit much.
Yeah.
It's not the usual way.
Did you feel your best with that recording then?
I did. I felt,
Because you sound incredible on it.
You know what? By that time, I had 3 children.
Yeah.
And I was there with my youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't living in New York that time. I'd already moved to Michigan for a little while.
Yeah.
And I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
There's such freedom to that, though.
Bit, but I was kind of like, well, I think it's pretty good. It sounded good. It's good singing, and it feels like the truth of this person. And that's another thing. Like, I don't want to put. I'm not there to put myself forward. I'm there to put the voice of the character forward. Sure. And I just felt like I did that.
When you're recording this, were you going in with the context of the movie? Had you seen it?
No.
Okay.
We just learned the songs. And,
okay, interesting.
And it was really cool because it was at the Hit Factory.
Okay.
And that was like the last thing that they recorded at the Hit Factory, which was one of those beautiful, amazing studios up in the 50s, sound studios.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a huge orchestra. It was a pretty big deal.
Wow, that's incredible. I think that blew my mind and you sound so incredible on it, and I love that song. I think it's so
too.
pretty. And
I love all the songs on that.
I think so too. Yeah. So that was one thing that really blew my mind. I want to do a little jump to a bunch of your Michael John LaChuisa stuff.
Oh my God.
And
I love him so much.
You did, what was the first show you did with him that I found was Queen of the Mist?
I've only done 2 with him.
Okay, Queen of the Mist and First Daughter Suite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so tell me about how you got involved in Queen of the Mist.
I think that I just remember getting a call from Transport Group, who I didn't really know, although I'd seen Jack's directing of Barbara in something, and thought they were marvelous. I think I just got a call and said, would you like to come play this? It's going to be like one of an ensemble of 5, and you're just going to play a bunch of different parts and do the workshop. Yeah. And find out what this is. Yeah. Yeah, of course. So I just went and did it.
Yeah. And similar thing with Guettel.
I knew Michael John just from parties, but I'd never worked with him or auditioned for anything.
I see. And so then when you auditioned for it, what was that like?
I didn't audition for it.
Oh, you didn't?
I just went to do, it was just a workshop.
Oh, I see. Okay,
so,
got it.
Like, you could do the workshop, and if they like you, you can go on, but if you're not right, they might replace you.
Yes, got it.
So I didn't get replaced. I was glad to stay in.
To be kept.
Yeah.
To be kept. And that show also so funky, such a new work, such an experimental thing. I mean, like, what an incredible concept about this woman who
what a mind.
Puts herself in a barrel and jumps off Niagara Falls, or sends herself, or is meant to do that.
Well, I mean, it brings us around full circle. Like when I said I loved Meryl Streep because she was able to play an uncomfortable person. Yeah. This story about Anna Taylor. Yeah. Played by Mary Tusta. Right. It's a most prickly, uncomfortable person. Yeah. Like, you look at her and you think, why do I care about this woman? Yeah. But by the end of it, it's such a beautiful release. Yeah. That just says all of us deserve the glory. Yeah. Our glory at some point. Yeah. And I think Michael John did that so well.
I think so too. I think
Mary Tusta, like a genius.
Yeah. So then talk to me about First Daughter Suite. You had already built a relationship with Michael John at that point, and did you audition for that piece?
No, I would just, again, I got to play ghosts in that one. Yes. And so I'm kind of a little bit, I do play kind of ghost-like character. I tend to play ghosts. Yeah. Ghosts and sisters. Sure. So it was just lucky there was something for me in that. And I think that's the way Michael John usually does it. Yeah. Oh, I saw it. You saw it, okay. Loved it. Yeah. I loved all of his stuff. I loved Way Back to Paradise. That was at Lincoln Center, and
so you were already
See What I Want to See. Like, I knew all his work.
Brilliant. Yeah. See What I Want to See is brilliant. Did you see Hello Again? And
yeah. Adore. Right. So good.
Yeah.
A couple versions of Hello Again I saw.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And so First Daughter Suite came about, and that was like another one of those really interesting pieces.
Yeah.
What do you think is the thing that you've really learned the most from Michael John? Especially in comparison to the work you've done with Guettel.
Yeah. Well, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He can write a book, a lyric, and a song like nobody else.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that is that facile with the whole thing. It's just, I just can't believe how smart he is about period and also how brave he is to put the weird, wonderful changes that he does, but and then the heart, like a great heart on that person. He should be much more recognized. In my opinion, his musicals are much better than so much of what gets produced. I'm sorry, but it's just true. I don't like things that are frivolous. I don't like to see things where it's just like I'm watching people show off. I'm not into it. Yeah. With Michael John, he gives people breakout moments where you get to go, oh my God, listen to her belt. Like, what in the hell is happening? That is amazing. But it's never about showing off. It's always about the story. And that's what just does it for me. I love it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I think so too. I think that all the stuff that I've listened to of his is super inspired and super complicated and interesting and just like different, you know, and yeah.
Nobody like him.
I adore his work as well. Okay, so there are a couple more interesting things that I want to discuss with you. You mentioned your kids and whatnot, and how much did they know about you being like an actor and a singer and all this stuff? Did they see you in shows? Did they what was that?
They would come to see it sometimes.
Yeah.
I think they knew I was an actor, but it just feels normal. I don't think they.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And I really wasn't always acting. Like,
right. Well, it's not like you were rocking around the house acting.
No, never. And I taught for a long time. So starting in 2006, I was teaching mostly. So, only occasionally would I go away and do something. I wasn't doing anything.
I was going to ask you about that. Is like, what was your inspiration to teach? Why did you want to start teaching?
Well, I wanted money. But I also like teaching. I really like teaching.
Yes. And you're a great teacher.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I first started out at Playwrights Horizons.
Okay.
And the undergrad, the Tisch one. And I loved it. And I loved working with those students. And many of them are still in the business. Like,
that's incredible.
Great directors and designers and amazing people. But if they're not in the business, they're also like off on their journey doing other things. Like they're writers or they're ministers, or it's so cool.
A lot of what we did in your class that really resonated with me, the two biggest things are viewpoints and compositions. And so talk to me a little bit about viewpoints and what you find, because we glazed upon it earlier, but it's a topic that I find really interesting and I find myself going back to. Talk to me a little bit about viewpoints and what interests you about that.
What interests me about seeing young actors moving in viewpoints is to give them a chance to get out of their logical.
We should probably say, what are the viewpoints?
Viewpoints are a way of talking about working together as an ensemble.
Yes. In
the theater, that Anne Bogart and Tina Landau kind of codified, but before that, it had come from the dance world.
I was going to say from choreography.
Mary Overly, who had a dance company. So Anne learned it from Mary, and Anne adapted it and brought it to the theater. But it's just a way of talking about space and time together.
Right.
And it's a way to think about generating behavior and movement. As an actor, you can do the viewpoints in a play even if everybody else isn't doing it.
Right.
And you're just thinking about your your role in a different way than we normally do, where it's like, my viewpoint, what's my objective? My objective, and then you say your line. Instead, you're doing things in different ways, and you're kind of experimenting like a scientist almost.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'll move quickly this time.
Right.
Now I think I'll do this part walking around in circles. It touches every single thing that you do.
I think so. And I think that what I found most interesting about viewpoints was the idea that with them, so for example, because you talk about ensemble and how it helps create an ensemble, but also what I found interesting about Viewpoints is, for me, like even working on monologues or working on songs, what's interesting about Viewpoints is the tempo aspect of it.
Right. Yeah. Tempo for you.
Tempo is really interesting for me, but also, so I'm just gonna riff off a couple. There's tempo and there's duration and kinesthetic response. Kinesthetic response for me is really big. Yeah. That was always something that I still think about, even if it's subconsciously, about how I am in proximity and relation to scene partners or in the space existing.
Yes.
That one's big, and then architecture was huge for me.
Architecture's the blast.
And that is exploring the space around you and trying to see, okay, well, what does it how does it inform the way I walk, if it's, even the idea of it being a hotter or colder space.
Yeah,
like things like that, you know. So generally, I think that's a...
And then it takes your mind off of all of those boring things that get in your way and make you feel like a kind of like a lump. And and your voice is chattering and they're saying, you're not doing it. That sucks. Why did you say it that way?
Yeah. Well, it immerses you a lot more too. Yeah. I think that like the whole idea, because I love the whole idea of like the objectives and all this other stuff, and I do that. I think that's a lot of prelim work, so that when you go into the space, you're able to like, okay, now that I've done that, it lives in my head already.
Wow.
Let me move forward with that.
There. Like that's exactly how I feel too.
The work you've done is making it. You're doing the work.
I know, but I don't think everybody takes that away from it, which is fine too. We're all,
you take what you can
get. We all do different things.
Yeah, but that has been really resonant for me, and it's more than anything subconsciously. Yeah. I think that now it exists for me where I like playing with it even when I'm not realizing that I am doing it. It's kind of almost habitual in a nice way.
It is.
Yeah. I loved that, and I loved doing compositions. When we did compositions in class, compositions were essentially, Theresa would give us a prompt of things that you had to fulfill within a, under certain restrictions. So it would be like the boy meets girl one is the one that always sticks with me.
Yeah,
it's like,
a good one.
What was it? Boy meets girl, and then
boy loses girl.
Boy loses girl, and then what was the next one?
Oh wait, boy meets girl, boy gets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl.
Yes, right. And so
and I learned that from Anne.
Although is that
I
right?
Put my own ingredients in
there. Yeah. That was such an interesting one, because you have to do it in 4 scenes, but you're only allowed to say a certain thing.
Right.
That is kind of
which you can choose, and it's more poetic text.
Yeah, right. It's not necessary. It's nothing that's super indicative of exactly what it's not expository. It's not going to be expository. And then you had us add music or add the elements into it. I thought that was some of the most like creative I had felt in class.
And you do it in an hour.
Yeah.
You create it together in
certain respect. I think we might have done even less, like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and we create this piece together. It was awesome. And I'll tell you, I do it with our kids. I teach children's theater now. And I do it with like the...
I bet they love it.
Yeah, they do. Particularly the circus one, they really like.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So that is... And you get to see their brain. It's so funny. You're like watching their brain speak to you without them literally speaking to you, which is really interesting. So I think that whole aspect of teaching in general is... I'm sure it can be really rewarding.
To me, like I teach classes where people sometimes sit in desks.
Yeah.
And then I teach acting classes. And to me, that composition time is the most fulfilling teaching you can do, because to see, and I'm not even teaching, all I did was give you a piece of paper and let you go, like,
and kind of
that
guide.
Is what students are supposed to be doing.
Right.
They're supposed to be excited about stuff.
Right. And you help guide. Like that, I think that is the biggest thing, is that you use your experience to help guide where.
Right, but I'm not lecturing. I'm not doing anything. No. I just handed it out and said,
"Yeah, sure.
I'll see you in 40 minutes." I'll tell you it's 30 minutes left.
Right. Let me ask you this in terms of, because you've originated so many new pieces, I wonder what would you say is the biggest thing to consider and think about when entering an original piece?
Well,
I think compositions inform a lot of that.
Come in with a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Think about what you can bring that's really from you to this piece. So whether it is your authentic voice or a poetic way of moving that's going to elevate. Poetry can also be angular. It doesn't have to just be like soft and flowy. I'm a more flowy kind of ghostly, watery presence. So I know that if I'm in a thing, that there must be something ethereal that I'm bringing to it.
Yes.
So know your type, know who you are, know why they want you,
right?
And just keep bringing that sauce into it.
Yeah, and what makes you in that regard. Yeah. That's really interesting. I think that's really interesting. Talk to me about directing, because you've done a lot of directing lately. What has interested you about that, and when did you start to find like an interest in it at all?
Yeah, I directed the first time when I had a theater company in Michigan. After my second child was born, my husband and I moved to Michigan. We started a theater company.
Yeah.
So I just realized I really liked it a lot, and so I directed a good deal there, like straight plays, Shakespeare.
Sure.
We did a new musical. We got commissioned.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then when I went to teach at NYU, I had a chance to direct a Tom Stoppard play there.
Oh, cool. What play?
Dogs Hamlet, Cahoots Macbeth.
Oh, cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I suggested that.
And what do you find is the most interesting about directing now?
Just watching people move around. I just like watching people move around, see what they do.
Yeah.
I like watching people develop.
Yeah.
It's just a blast.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What brought you, because you teach now at Wagner, you've been at Wagner for how long now?
Since 2014.
So 10 years, over 10 years.
Yeah.
What brought you to Wagner?
Well, I was looking at Art Search trying to get a teaching job, and I put a bunch of apps out, and I was getting a few bites, but not, nothing was happening. And then luckily, Michelle Pocht worked here. Yeah. And she put in a good word for me.
How did you know Michelle prior to that?
Just from the neighborhood.
Okay.
From like being moms at the same time.
Yes.
In Washington Heights way back in the
day.
Oh
my gosh, that's so funny.
And
did you guys live near one another?
Yeah, we lived up there. So like you know how it is, it's a small world, this business.
Yeah.
You know everybody.
Yeah, you do.
And I saw her in lots of things and admired her, and I knew I saw John Dossett, her husband, in lots of things. So anyway, they were great. I thought she was great.
Yeah. She is great.
And so she put in a good word for me, and then I got it. So I felt really lucky, because it's not often that a job opens up in New York City for teaching acting. Like, it's so rare. Yeah. But then when I got here, I loved the culture. I enjoyed teaching at NYU. I wasn't like on the tenure track when I was at NYU. They didn't have that in my department. Yeah. But I loved my colleagues there, and I loved the students. And then when I got here, it was a bit of a different kind of student. Right. Like a lot more Staten Islanders who I'd never met before. Yeah. And had you ever been to Staten Island prior to that? Not really. Wow. Hadn't been. Welcome. Now you might as well be a Staten Island veteran. I mean, now I love it. When I see like the Staten Island crew in the department walking through the halls, I'm always like, those kids are really cool. I love them so much. They are. They're special. They're New York City kids. Yeah, that's true too. And I really like the New York City kid sensibility vibe. Yeah. But it's even more kind of like saucy, special coming from Staten Island. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, sorry, and I'm bouncing back between a bunch of different things. I want to ask you about this new Floyd Collins. And do you know Lizzy McAlpine is playing your part. She's playing Nellie. Do you know Lizzy McAlpine? Have you ever listened to her stuff? Yeah, I've listened to her stuff. She sounds great. Yeah, it's funny. Amazing. I didn't know anything about her. I discovered her through a bunch of people who I know love her, and she has a really pretty voice, and I'm really looking forward to it. And what you're going to see it, I imagine, and all this other stuff, and what are you most looking forward to about this new production? Tina's still directing it. Adam's still involved. Hugging Tina, Adam, and Ted, and congratulating them. You know, on getting it up to Lincoln Center. Also, I think the people at Lincoln Center, some of them were the same ones who were shepherding it through Playwrights Horizons. Is that right? Process. Although when we got to Playwrights Horizons, Andre had already moved to Lincoln Center. Okay. So Andre Bishop. So it's just kind of like the team's back together. This was a long time ago. Right. It was 30 years ago. Right. So I'm just glad that they're getting their due. Yeah. That is really exciting. It is so exciting. And I look forward to seeing it too in that space. Wait. It'll be it'll just be really interesting. And Adam's working a bunch between Days of Ryan and Rosens, and this morning they announced, or yesterday morning they announced the cast of Millions. Oh yay! Yeah, which is really exciting. You're still got things in the hopper. So for sure. You're still good friends with him and Tina and whatnot. Yeah. I don't get to see them very much, but if I get to talk to them, we just pick up from where we left off. You know how it is. I didn't know that you had this close a relationship with him for this long, or with the both of them. We were kids. Long. Yeah, right, exactly. You grew up together in the industry in respect. I know. Yeah, it's so great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so.
I want to do a little game with you. I'm going to do a little segment with you.
Okay.
And this is going to be a little trivia segment. So because we talked a lot about Adam and a lot about Michael John LaChuisa, I'm going to test your knowledge on the lyrics of Michael John LaChuisa and Adam Guettel. So I'm going to give you like a little passage, and I'm going to see if you can guess what show it's from. And if you can tell me what song, that's bonus points.
Oh my God.
That's bonus points, okay?
Geez, okay.
It's a little niche. I'm going niche with this. This is Michael John LaChuisa and Adam Guettel.
I might not, but
so we'll see.
Try.
We're only a couple. Okay. I believe this little soul will cradle in heaven until the day we can accept him together for you and for me and for the child I pray.
Come to Jesus. Of course, I sang that.
Boom, that's right.
Yeah.
From
Myths and Hymns.
Yes. Okay, perfect. We're on to a good start. Okay, moving on to the next one. What makes the rain, wind currents, the moon? What makes an ocean, rain, water, and salt? Where does water come from? Cloud, earthens, and God.
Oh my God, Michael John LaChuisa.
Yeah.
From in the deep bosom of the ocean buried.
Ooh.
In A First Daughter Suite.
First Daughter Suite. The song's called Underneath the Waves.
Underneath the Waves.
But maybe that was the original
Yeah,
title.
that's the name of the song. But the section is called In the Deep Bosom of the Ocean Buried.
Right.
Which is
beautiful
a quote
song.
from I think it's from Macbeth. It's from a weird or Hamlet.
Okay.
Oh, wait, where's it from? It's from a weird place in Shakespeare, but it's like so beautiful and moving.
Yeah. That's really interesting. This song is so. I was listening to it, and I think it's just so beautiful.
Do you know who the character is?
Not necessarily, no.
It is Barbara Bush.
Yes.
And
okay. Yes.
First George Bush.
Yeah.
Daughter Robin, who died when she was 3 of leukemia.
Oh, yeah.
So
no,
she's
see, I didn't know that. Wow.
Who comes back? She's a 53-year-old 3-year-old.
Oh,
who comes back once a year to visit her mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was neat.
It's funny because it's hard to find a lot of that on this stuff when when I was researching. So that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. And the pictures I've seen and the videos I've seen, it look really cool. That whole sequence looks really cool with the ocean and the silk and okay, the next one. We had no money. You begged our father. You promised him you'd do every chore, every task to earn his reward. 4 shiny pennies.
That is from Queen of the Mist.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you remember the song?
Oh my God, why are you asking me that? Now I'm on the spot.
No, you don't have to.
No,
it's
I know.
Okay.
It's not the tiger. It's Anna.
You're so close.
And
it kind of is the tiger, kind of.
The zoo?
It's a letter to Jane / the tiger. They're kind of together,
okay.
yes. Yes, so you did. So I'm going to give you that.
No, it's letter to Jane.
I'm going to give you that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more. Yeah. I'm gonna walk you through the mountain on a bearskin rug, through the great halls you dream of and tell of so often. I'm gonna take you by the hand, and with a gentle tug, we'll be long gone, as we follow along the diamonds to the outside.
Yep, that's Floyd Collins.
Floyd Collins. Yeah. And do you remember the song?
Why are you asking me?
That's it.
I was thinking the whole
time
I know the title of the song.
Yeah.
Tell me the title.
Through the Mountain.
Through the Mountain.
The funny thing about this is when I crafted this, these are all songs that you sang.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You caught on.
You caught on.
I was like, I'm gonna tell you afterward, but it seems like you caught on pretty easily. I have just a couple little things. Every podcast we ask this, because we're big on manifestation on this podcast.
Ooh,
so I want to ask you for a dream guest to be sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
A dream guest for me to have on the pod.
Yeah. Who could you have?
Yeah.
I mean,
that you're manifesting for me.
Ooh, let me think. You could talk to Jack Cummings.
Oh, awesome!
He's a director.
Amazing.
Jack Cummings III.
Yes, they just announced he's going to be doing Bus Stop at Classic Stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also with National Asian Theater NATCO.
Oh, cool. Yes.
So it's like a triple.
Oh, amazing! I've never met him, but I know of him.
Well, he's so smart. I love working with him. He's an amazing director.
And he directed a show here.
He directed a show here.
Or 2 years ago.
He made a show.
Right, an original show.
An original show with our students, and I was
that you got to be in. Yeah, that's so cool. That's awesome. And now my final question for you is, when we started the podcast, I asked you who your I want to be like you was when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your I want to be like you now?
This is good. Oh, boy, I have to think about this. If I don't give a good answer, you'll just cut this, but you just won't have this part.
Every answer you've given has been great.
Who I want to be like now? You know,
it can be absolutely anyone. It doesn't have to be like a celebrity or anything like that.
I do love Mary Testa. I just love
Mary
the way
Testa.
Mary Testa keeps working.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen Mary in 2 things in the last 2 months, and there's just something about Mary.
She's brilliant.
Being up close with her working, and then sitting in the audience with her working.
Yeah.
I just love
She's
that
doing
about
Queen
her.
of the Mist right now, again, in concert.
Yes, I just saw it.
You just saw it?
It was great. And it's more than a concert. It's
is that right?
pretty staged. Like,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I feel like Mary's life is pretty cool. Like,
she is.
I wouldn't
awesome.
mind being like Mary.
She's awesome. Yeah. I'm manifesting her for the podcast too.
She's great. Like,
she is
she's
awesome.
So fun to talk to, and she's hilarious.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, Theresa. I really,
You're
really
so
appreciate
sweet
it.
to
Thank
ask
you.
me. Thank you.
Yeah, you were like first on my list.
Oh my
so
God,
thank you for doing this, and we'll see you next time. I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes is produced by Elbi and Christian Cespedes. Special thanks to Theresa McCarthy.